Oh, my crawler. Who's driving the boat?
That I couldn't tell you.
Got it?
What have we here? Bass.
Think so.
Yeah, I can see it. Remember I kept my sunglasses on?
Yeah.
Neener, neener, neener.
It's a nice size one.
Yeah, it is.
Why not? You're gonna lip it.
I was gonna lip him.
Go for it.
I gotta let him get a little more tired first. Come on. You're catch and release only at this juncture. Come on. Got a jump for me?
There you go.
It's not a panfish, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Puts up a good fight.
Yes, it does. So not necessarily the intended species, but they are in the panfish family.
They are.
So we'll go with that. Getting back in the water here. Hi, folks. I'm Dan.
And I'm Alex.
And it is a calm, foggy Minnesota morning out here in the Northwoods. And we are feeling a little nostalgic today. We're throwing live bait for panfish below bobbers, and we're having a heck of a time already. Alex has got another one there already.
Not a bad one.
Yeah, we were out, we did some pre-fishing yesterday, and we caught, 9.5-inch bluegill,
Yeah.
12-inch crappie, 30-inch northern,
Yeah.
thereabouts. I mean, it
Some
was
bass too.
number of bass. It's just crazy, and what's so much fun about this, like I said, there's the nostalgia factor. Like, everybody cut their teeth fishing for bluegill like this, and so it's kind of fun to get back to your roots, get back to what you know, but at the same time, now that we're a little more experienced anglers, it's fun because we never know what we're going to get on each cast. We had giant pumpkin seed, giant bluegill, and it's just going to be a great show, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. Alex is on the board again. I gotta quit talking and cast.
I saw that guy hit it.
What I got on there? You saw him flash?
Yeah.
Decent fish, whatever it is. Bluegill.
Ooh, a nice one.
A nice bluegill.
Pumpkin seed.
Oh, yeah, it is a pumpkin chunkin'.
That is
All
a
right,
chunky
folks,
one.
here's something I want to show you. So, we established a couple of patterns yesterday, and we always seek to find patterns. Have a look at this pumpkin seed here. Look how fat the belly on this thing is. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous fish to begin with. All pumpkin seed in this color are gorgeous, but these things are so fat. And what I found yesterday, back in there, I kept a few fish and cleaned them at home. And what I found when I was filleting those fish, I always take a look at stomach contents, because it's just really, without a doubt, tells you what that fish has been preying on. And the fish I cleaned yesterday were absolutely full of larger invertebrates. The caddisfly larva, the mayfly larva, dragonfly larva. There's 30, 40, sometimes 50 of these carcasses in the stomach. And when I realized that's what they were eating on, it made perfect sense. Because there was some select areas that we found that would contain those critters that seemed to be a higher concentration of those bigger fish like the one I just caught. Alex, you want to fill them in on kind of what we were looking for?
Well, for structure-wise, if you look, there's the land adjacent to the shoreline. Sorry, I got one actually. The land adjacent to the shoreline it's an immediate drop-off, and so what happens is that's not a bad one right there.
No.
And so what's happening is the shoreline drops, and then the water is right after the shoreline drops is a foot or two deep. And they're really relating to that deeper shoreline. And then another thing that we're keying in on is the log structure. There's been a lot of logs along the shoreline where we're catching those bigger sized panfish as well.
Yep. And that fits right in with what I was saying about what they've been feeding on. there's a lot of predaceous animals in there that they're feeding on animals that will eat on those logs. The shredders and stuff. They love that decomposition and the moss and stuff that's growing on those logs. And I really believe these fish are in there for that reason. They're shallow enough that a lot of people have the misconception that these fish are in there and they're spawning already. And they're not. We've got low 60s for water temperature. These fish they're up extremely shallow. We were catching fish, literally within 2 feet of the shoreline.
Yeah.
But the water was deep enough that they can feel comfortable there.
Yep.
And with that, they'll have access to deeper water should they choose to pull off over the break. But with those temperatures, they're not quite spawning yet. And I think what they're doing is they're up and they're in there. They're obviously feeding very aggressively.
Yep.
And I think they're feeding on what's there to get as much energy as they can to carry them through that spawn, because they're not necessarily going to be doing a whole lot of eating when they're going through those steps, but they're going to be burning a ton of energy. And so it's a great time to get out and catch some fish. Let's get back to it.
Yeah, I already got one working. See what it has to offer.
Oh,
There you go.
nice
That's a nice one.
Jeepers, I don't know what it is yet.
Took you down to the weeds.
Yeah. A nice bluegill, I think.
Yeah.
A pumpkin.
Oh, nice pumpkin. Oh, yeah.
There's another big one.
Got one
Wow.
working.
It is fast and furious today.
It is.
And just fat, healthy, beautiful. It does not get any more beautiful
that is
than
an
a pumpkin
amazing
seed in
fish.
those colors. I'm going to show you our rig here that we're using, folks, and a few little things that we've come up with that help. Using real simple rigs, and again, we've got a little variability here, like we always do. No two guys doing the same thing. We started off deeper yesterday, out in the weeds, kind of on the edge of the break, and then worked our way in shallower looking for those fish. And so I had a slip bobber all rigged up for fishing out in that 7 to 10 foot and further in. And what I've done is I've actually, throughout the course of the day, as we fish shallower and shallower, I've moved that slip knot down further and further. So it's just your basic slip bobber. I got a fluorocarbon leader, stop knot, bead, slip bobber, and then a split shot. Going to a long shank hook with a crawler on it. Couple important things I'm going to point out here. Just some little tips that have helped me. And one is when you're using fluorocarbon and braid together as a stop knot, make sure before you slide that knot that you take your line and just drag it through the water and get everything wet. You can see those beads on there. Just that little bit of lubrication will keep that connection between those from heating up when you slide it. Because if you anything rubbing over fluorocarbon, it seems to really heat up, and it can actually fray and damage your line if you're not careful with it. And the other thing I'm going to mention is where my split shot is. It's a little higher than most people have it. I like to have it about a foot, 14 inches, sometimes 16 inches. What that does is it allows my bait to drop slower in the water than it would if it was further down here and was acting more like a jig. It's just a real natural buoyancy thing. But what that allows my bait to do is drop slower in the water column and hang out in that strike zone longer. So fish don't have to go down for it. They can swim down and come up from underneath and really hammer it.
Well, and drop rates are so crucial for panfish too.
They are.
When they're finicky, sometimes that little subtle difference in drop rate can make the biggest difference in the world. You know?
And you want to tell them about how we're threading our crawlers and working our bobbers out there?
So for my rig in particular, I'm just using a clip-on bobber. I was running a slip bobber earlier until mine got broken off by a pike, and then I felt lazy and didn't want to deal with the whole slip bobber, and I knew we were fishing shallow as well. So I just am using a clip bobber. Same thing.
Oh, missed him. Sorry about that. Hit you in the face.
I'm using just a split shot. Mine's a little bit shallower than Dan's. And then in particular, my crawler is threaded on. We're having, like I said, we said before, we're having to get through the smaller fish. And they keep pecking away. You're going through a crawler. Seems like every 4 fish you're having to rethread it and stuff. So what we did here is we took the crawler And we threaded it on, almost like, I guess if you were bass fishing almost. Cause
yeah, just like a rubber worm.
Yeah.
Thread it up the hook.
You know, I got a little bit of tail end still on my hook, just to get that enticement, but I got most of the worm threaded onto the hook. And what's happening is the panfish just aren't ripping it off right away when I drop it down.
They're not doing the little peck and pull
Yep.
that we're so used to seeing in ice season on the camera.
Yeah.
It's they see that, and it's more like a northern or a bass hitting a topwater lure. It is just they are grabbing it and digesting as they go.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's aggressive fish, and I mean there's nothing subtle about this approach. It's just as straightforward as bobber fishing gets, and it's effective.
Yeah, and it's just, I love how it just gets you back to your roots. You know,
Yeah.
It's where we all started fishing.
Look at the size of those bluegill down there.
That's
right
a
now.
nice one.
There's two of them. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And what, once going back to again though, how shallow we're fishing.
Yeah.
People don't necessarily think of fishing this shallow. And we could throw a rock to shore.
Yeah.
That's how shallow we're fishing.
Yeah, and we ran into that yesterday. We were out here, and there was quite a few other boats throughout the day. And we started out deeper, and we were pulling fish out there, but they weren't necessarily
the fish that we were looking for.
Yeah, it wasn't those age classes that we were keying on, but we were turning fish consistently. And what that led to was some other boats coming out and fishing that same depth with us. What happened later on, as we fished our way in and found those bigger fish, those other boats, they were still turning fish, maybe not the consistency and the size class that we were into, but they were still hanging out there in deeper water when, like I said, we came up here and we are literally casting within 4 or 5 feet of shore in most cases and turning more and bigger fish than we did all morning out in the open water. All right, I need another crawler.
In.
Oh no. Not this again.
This is another
Another bass, yeah. It's the same one. We're going to have a conversation.
It's a bigger one.
Don't get out of that, boss. Under the boat. You do you. I'm going to be here for a while. Bucket mouth here.
That is a dandy.
Oh! He's just barely hooked. Deep in the throat. Not the throat, but top of the mouth. Just barely in there. Look at that pig, folks.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
Now, what's he got? Oh! Did you find one too?
I might have.
Get him back in the water.
No, it's a nice sunny.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You get out of your way here, sir.
Oh, dude.
Punkin' chunkin' is what we're doing today.
That is a dandy.
That is a dandy fish.
Make sure I don't. You inhaled it pretty good, too. Just gonna grab me those pliers, please. Let's see.
Yeah, it is fast and furious out here.
Do you want to talk about how we're using the trolling motor to our advantage today?
Yeah, that's fine. So if you notice the distance we're keeping from shore, it's a castable distance. It's not as far as we can cast. It's within our range, but something we can repeat.
Get that guy back in there. That was a beautiful fish.
And what that allows us to do is keep a cushion between us and those fish, because we're talking extremely shallow water, very clear water for this time of year, and we don't want to spook those fish. We'd rather do our thing out here and cast deep into them, and I think that's been a big part of how we've been able to capitalize. And then the other thing is we've been mobile. You've been moving the boat along, not at a fast pace, but just covering water.
Yeah. And I'm using about half the speed on the trolling motor. It keeps us moving. It allows us to cover water, but we're also working that water very thoroughly as well. We're casting out. We're seeing if we get bit. More often than not, we are getting bit.
Yeah.
And if we don't, we're twitching it back towards us about 5 feet, and then letting it sit and seeing if we get bit. If we don't get bit, twitching it back just a little bit more.
Another nice one.
Yeah, it is.
Not huge, but
nice bluegill.
yeah.
And just, covering water.
Yeah, and the other thing with that is, like I said earlier, these fish, they're not spawning yet. They're up in the shallows. They're going to stay up there feeding like this until they do start spawning, and then they're going to stay there, for the duration of that. But the other thing that this does is it eases up the pressure on these giant fish.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, I kept some and cleaned some yesterday. The majority of those I took were table fare for myself. We tried to be selective and take smaller males versus pre-spawn females. But in the case of some, maybe really deep hooked fish, where it's going to be an obvious mortality case, if the fish isn't going to survive, I went ahead, took them home, cleaned them. I kept, 15 fish between
some crappie, some
pumpkin seed, and bluegill. And of those 15 fish, only 3 of them were mature females that were with egg, and all 3 of those were fish that were going to succumb to mortality just because of the aggressiveness and how deep they were hooked. So moving like this, it lets us find new areas with, picking up a big fish here and there, catching some smaller ones. But, we're not anchoring on a honey hole and pulling every last fish out of there and risking any amount of high mortality for this system. So
yeah,
I think we got a good thing going.
I think so too.
Get back to it. I'm afraid to cast anymore. I keep floating under that dock.
Oh, I see one moving in on it.
A bass?
Yeah, no.
I didn't mean to throw right on you. What are the odds? I see one moving in.
It's not a bad one that you got.
Not a bad one you got. How's that for a double, folks?
Oh, that's a stud right there.
That is a beautiful, beautiful fish.
Yeah.
It just, bluegill, sunny,
Yeah.
pumpkins, whatever you want to call them.
The colors on yours are just astounding.
Yeah,
I love it.
Pumpkin seeds are just absolutely beautiful fish.
Get them back in here.
Yeah. Those fish were literally within 18 inches, or bobbers were within 18 inches of each other.
And there was like a little bit of sand too, and I literally could see just them just coming after it too. And it was like our bobbers just went down at the exact same time. So that was crazy.
That's amazing.
I'm gonna cast back out. I don't know about you, Dan.
I'm gonna cast on top of you again. It worked before. Blind squirrel found a nut.
Another decent one.
Yeah, they're not tiny. Pull one too?
Yeah. Another decent one.
Get yours up here.
Yeah.
I think that's about going to do it for today.
I think so too.
Like, I don't know if it gets much better than that.
Just doubling up,
Right? I mean, well, our bobbers 5, 6
There it goes.
5, 6 feet apart. Our bobbers were.
Yeah.
And look at that. Just, I mean, all day it's been like this.
Yeah.
And, not to gloat or brag, but to be honest, it was difficult to film this because every fish is such great quality.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you edit that? But,
Yeah.
anyways,
To recap, it's mid-May. We're fishing nice shallow bluegills and sunfish. We're fishing a little bit shallower than one would expect, to be honest. And the reason behind that is our theory is they're putting on the feed bag. We're coming up. We got lower 60-degree water temps, not quite spawning temps. And I think that's the key. They're not quite spawning yet.
like I said, that's a common misconception. Is people think that they're up there and they're spawning. It's like, as best we can tell, they're just up there eating everything in sight.
They moved up shallow in the last week or two. We came out 2 weeks ago, right around walleye opener, trying to replicate what we did, and really struggled. Couldn't really find any. And there definitely was that push from deeper water up into the shallows by these panfish.
Just comes with that warmer temperature and everything warming up and all the creepy crawlies coming out. And, so I guess the only other thing I'm going to add is in regards to the conditions today. We say this all the time. When's the best time to fish? Anytime you can.
Yep.
We're lucky enough to make time in our schedule to do this. But if you look at the conditions here today, it's cleared up a lot from what it was earlier. But that being said, it's still an overcast, drizzly day. There was maybe one or two other boats out here, all morning.
Yep.
And I guess my takeaway from that to you is, just because conditions aren't ideal and it's not a bright bluebird sunny day where you're going to get a sunburn, doesn't mean those fish aren't biting. They live under the water. Conditions down there are very, very stable. There's not a whole lot of variation other than temperature and wind are about the only things that change. Well, sunlight, obviously. But on a day like this, it's almost the same conditions as it was yesterday down there for them. It's just not quite as bright. And, they haven't changed at all from what they were yesterday when it was a bright, sunny, nice day.
Correct.
So I guess, if you don't take anything else away from this video, take that away and get out there and go fishing any chance you get. Because if you're sitting at home because it's drizzly out, you never know what you're missing. And I wouldn't want anybody to miss a day of fishing like this ever. Because, like I said,
crazy.
It takes us back to our childhood.
Yeah.
We caught bluegill and bass, and it's just like you never know what's going to be on the other end of that line when that bobber goes down. And it's been a great day and a lot of fun, relaxing day. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And we're gonna keep pushing more videos out and doing more of what we love and what you love, and we hope you're all learning from it. So until next time, I'm Dan
and I'm Alex. We'll see you on the water.
Yep.